What up, everyone? It's the AU Trash Crew here to bring you your weekly slice of Star Trek goodness. I'm ill again. Different ill this time. The life of the chronically ill is fun and varied, and the cornucopia of shit your body is doing that you don't quite understand. That being said, I might get chips during the session, so that'll be fun. That'll be fun for all of us. I'll tell you how that goes. But welcome to episode 1 of our new arc, being GM'd by dear old Emily. Good times. If this is your first time here, congratulations. You missed last week, but don't worry. I'm sure you'll catch up. Aha, time travel humor. Just a bit of time travel humor for you there to get you ready for the japes and hijinks and jollity. With that being said, hi everyone. It is I'm Izzy, and don't forget also the other two I haven't mentioned, Mike and Kath, who are great. I'm gonna do really well at a complex time travel episode, but you know what? I feel like I'm coming into this with the energy required of my station. That being said, don't forget to be kind to each other and to us, but most importantly to Emily, as I hand over to her to take charge of whatever's going on right now. Help me, Roomba, help.
No, shan't. Yeah. I have no intention of being helpful. You should know this by now. Don't be kind to me. I don't deserve it. But yes, hello, welcome to it's not session 1 of Hysteresis. This is like session 5 at this point. You just don't remember the other 3, but I remember because I run this time loop. Is it session 5? How long have you actually been here?
Who knows?
Who knows? Who can tell? What even is time? We just don't know. But some people who might know eventually are the crew of the USS Iskandar, who are here in this lovely time loop. Where we left off last week. Or was it last week? No, it was last week. Where we left off last session, the crew had met up with the USS Krasnikov. Had been blown up by the USS Krasnikov a couple of times.
Yeah, that was rough.
That was rough, but it's fine. They got better. And they haven't blown up yet this loop. It's all good. Currently, Talandra knows it's a time loop. Other people, some are more convinced than others that it may or may not be a time loop. And they've just spoken to the captain of the Krasnikov, who said, okay, so how did you know this stuff? Because we just looked at some things and what you said checks out. Let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
So,
had there been like did we end up like a glitch or the screen flickering?
There was a glitch in the screen kind of flickered a little bit as Captain Diamond finished off saying, we should chat. And also my science officer wants to have a chat with your first officer again.
Mm-hmm.
Says they've already had a chat.
I definitely strong-armed all of her research out of her in a way that shouldn't have been.
Didn't get all of her research. She's got a lot more research, but you got some of her research.
All right, Captain, let's talk. What are you suggesting?
Well, I was thinking, my ship or yours, but
should we come to you?
Yeah, that's probably for the best, and then you'll be able to have a look at what's going on. If it is something that's up with our drive, as you say, it's probably best for us to stay put.
That would be preferable, I think. Very well. Lieutenant Cantor, setting a course.
Aye, Captain. And Kantos sets a course and takes you over to the USS Krasnikov.
Mm-hmm.
As the Iskandar approaches the Krasnikov,
fucking blows up.
I'd do such a thing. I'd totally do such a thing, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna be good, nice to you all. The ride gets a little bumpy.
What's this interference with our impulse engines, Lieutenant Casey?
I didn't know I was there.
I'd say we're at impulse. We're on the bridge.
Yes, you're on the
bridge.
ship, science boy. So
thing.
No, we're heading.
Sorry.
We're going there. We're going there still. Something's bumpy as we're bumping along. And I just assumed we're at impulse, which makes no sense. We must be a warp because space is big.
Yeah.
Whatever. Now we're at impulse. We're in the system.
High impulse or low warp.
Yeah.
Either way, whatever you're on, it's a little bumpy. Science boy. Boy, that's science.
Why?
6. Yeah, so you know those kind of micro cracks in space-time that you were picking up on before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a few more of those now. This is a problem that's getting worse.
Oh no.
Do you say that, Icy? do we just have Casey look at this research and go, or he scans and go, oh no.
Oh no. What is it,
Oh,
Ensign?
beads.
Oh, beads. Oh, gee whiz. Oh, golly. Oh, no.
Oh, gee, Rick.
Oh, gee. No, Ensign K. No, Lieutenant Casey is more resolved than that. I'm continuing to detect what essentially amount to micro fissures in space and time originating from the vessel that are slowly worsening.
Well, try to keep us out of them if you relay your findings to Helm. Let's try to drop down to impulse. I know speed is of the essence, but maybe let's not try to maintain a warp field around these.
I would dearly like to find some way by which, if this is a reoccurrence, that this can be monitored between occurrences. I have no worldly idea on how to.
That would be useful.
Palandra's going to tap into Casey's console and have a look at his numbers, because worst case scenario, she might remember, and then she can.
That's the thing. The best way for this would be if everyone was given this information in a briefing packet. But not everyone is science. We're okay at science. What if fucking Zal's the only one that remembers it next time around?
Guys, I remember it got real bad. How bad?
Hey guys, there was like
bad.
Some bad shit went down.
4 or 6 different space.
I think there was a big number and there was a little number, and those should have been the other way round.
And you were there, and you were there.
And you dropped that coffee. No, that was yesterday. My bad.
Yeah. I make the numbers free and try and make it as digestible for people as
free the numbers.
That will get, despite, I'm going to stick with Tharn right now, but this will get sent down to Reyes at least on a, read this, which is not going to be a good day for her. But I'll worry about that if she appears in this loop or if she ends up remembering the next one.
Possibly comment.
Yeah.
Genuinely couldn't. I don't know what you're going to roll next.
I won't borrow trouble yet. Okay, yeah, keep on approaching the Krasnikov.
Yeah, as you drop down to impulse, the ride's still a little rough. And it does get worse as you approach the Krasnikov, but kind of the rate at which it was getting worse, or at least from what you can physically feel from the Iskandar, rocking about a bit. It doesn't seem to be accelerating as much in terms of how much worse it's getting as you approach on impulse.
Hell, the Krasnikov.
Yep, you get a view of their bridge again.
So, Captain, requesting permission to come aboard with my exo and science officer.
By all means, Athan.
We shall report to transporter room and do it.
Yep.
Calandra is doing the equivalent of like she's taking her pad with her. Like she is in the moment, but she is also still studying because, as far as she's concerned, this timeline is doomed.
You don't know that.
Calandra is operating on the principle that we've not managed to fix it yet, which means this timeline is doomed. Which means she is constantly listening and reading, but she's not super emotionally present like she is normally.
Yeah, so standard Talandra operating procedure. Yep, you tootle down to the transporter bay. Anybody else going?
I thought she would bring. No, she's gonna leave Reyes because Athan is not yet like accepting the possibility and likelihood of her own fucking death. So she's leaving her chief engineer on the ship, partly for again my convenience, but also so that if something goes wrong, the chief engineer can save the fucking ship.
One sec, I am going to go get dice.
Okay.
What I love is that if this episode were being written by hackier Trek writers and with different Vulcans, like the solution to this is, as always, the mind meld, and Talandra's just like, no, thank you.
Also, we probably going to end up doing so many fucking mind melds if that was the thing.
Yeah, and Talandra's just like, no.
Okay, so the three of you transporting over.
How many of us arrive?
So Athan and Casey, you all leave the transporter bay at the same time.
We all dematerialize, right?
You all dematerialize together at the same time. You two rematerialize first. There is some light next to you of where you would be expecting Talandra to be standing.
Where are we? Are we on?
You're in the what looks to be the transporter bay of the Krasnikov.
Okay.
Do they have a transport engineer?
Yes, they do. Their transport engineer
My
is
eyes are screaming at the transport engineer.
I think this is just...
The transport engineer's eyes scream back. This isn't good news as far as they're concerned either. And then Talandra materializes.
Chief, could you account for that discrepancy on your transporter systems?
Not sure exactly what's caused that, I'm afraid, Captain.
It's not the right noise.
I don't want to. I don't want sucking at the teeth. I don't want thumbs in the belt.
A bit extra.
I'm afraid it is going to cost you a bit extra. This is
to get your
exos. That's going to cost you. But no, their chief looks at the numbers that they've got in front and says, "Yeah, that's. I will find out what has caused that, but for now, I'm going to recommend
no more transport use.
No more transporting until we've got this definitely
I concur.
sorted.
And if I could be
unless it's an emergency.
Understood. If I could then please direct it to Captain Diamond.
Of course. And in comes one of the security officers to escort you up to the bridge. I'm going to wait till Mike comes back.
Did Talandra feel a delay when she was coming in?
No. No, she didn't.
Almost as if the signal ended up going through a fucking gap in space-time or near it or gravitational whatever. There was a Sunny behind you.
Yeah.
Has he forgiven you yet?
The bed? I think so.
What have you done to that good boy?
Fell in his bed and broke it with my body, and everyone's really concerned about the dog, and no one asked how I was.
We did, but eventually.
If it helps, I would have asked, but this is the first I'm hearing of it.
What was
We're on
even
the
though
bridge.
I could hear, I was also engaged in a conversation with someone, so I did not hear as well as I might.
Yep.
What am I doing?
So, yeah, you're now being escorted up to the bridge by one of the Krasnikov security officers. It's not like escorted.
Yeah.
When I say escorted, it's really
Posted.
just like, yes, come this way, not right you. And their chief transport engineer has said, let's not do transporters for a bit until we've got this sorted out, unless it's an emergency. But if it's an emergency, then we've got other things to deal with and we'll work it out as we go. But for now, no transporters.
Sorry, the outside world beyond my window needs to chill the fuck out.
Bong.
And now a bike, which is an impressively loud considering my position.
It's probably the little twat who goes all around here. But anyway, you go up to the bridge.
Yep. Head on in.
And yeah, the Krasnikov is an intrepid class, much like the Iskandar, so you know where things are. This is a very familiar looking bridge.
Cool.
Just one that is perhaps a little busier than yours, with more people on, who are all, there's a lot of people going around consoles looking at stuff, a lot of kind of getting second opinions on things. It's kind of like how the Iskandar's bridge looks when there is something going on.
Okay.
That needs sorting out. So yeah, in fact, as you come onto the bridge, Captain Diamond stands up from the captain's chair and comes over to greet you. Thorn.
Diamond, this is my XO Commander Flanger and my Chief Science Officer, Lieutenant Casey. Thank you for receiving us and taking the time to talk. I understand this is an irregular sort of interruption.
Yeah, you're telling me. But, so we've, and by we I mostly mean Aras. Talandra, you recognise Lieutenant Commander Priyanka Aras in the corner, hunched over a console, probably swearing at something, as she pays no attention to the fact that the captain has kind of pointed her out.
Mm-hmm.
She is engrossed in what she's looking at. But it's mostly Commander Aras has been looking at a lot of the work, or a lot of the stuff that you mentioned, and it does all seem to check out, which is interesting, since, as far as I'm aware, this is all new information, so we don't know how you got hold of it, but it sounds like it's temporal displacement, was it? You described it as something like that?
Loop.
Temporal loop. Right.
An experience of the events leading up to a catastrophe based on your experimentation, reoccurring or being experienced repeatedly, certainly by my first officer. Which is why we stopped and investigated, and which is why we found, as you say, these irregularities. Said, I know it is irregular for me to have raised this, however, there's no way that for me to explain that members of my crew are reliving the events of a catastrophe caused by your ship without sounding a little
irregular.
Definitely.
No, but the caution is appreciated, and as I say, what you said seems to check out, or at least the irregularities do. Obviously, we've not had the catastrophe, or we wouldn't be having this conversation. But if one's likely, we'd like to avoid it as much as yourselves.
Yes, I think considering at this point, from what I understand, it's already, we don't have much of a pattern to go off.
Right. So what do you know? Let's go to my ready room.
By all means,
Captain. Priyanka, in here with us. What? I'm looking. All right.
Bring your angry scouser with you.
Angry Scout Science Officer comes in as well. She kind of looks at. There's a look at Talandra of, oh, you're here. But she doesn't say that. Though.
Mhm.
She doesn't go, "Oh, it's you." But there's a-
Sandra looks up over the edge of her pad and is just like,
As the commander explained it to me,
so is it you get Captain Diamond
Mhm.
and Commander Ares, and a third person joins you who Diamond introduces as Chief Engineer Lieutenant Sula, who is a Vulcan.
Talandra will only interrupt to briefly and quickly relay her position, but given the time that she's had, will almost certainly fold in some of the contents of Commander Aris's workings, indicating in that way that track writers do that she has picked up an awful lot of it in a very short space of time.
Yeah.
Which gives me reason to believe that these events will occur again.
Right. Okay.
Obviously, at this point, it's a little difficult for us to anticipate what the exact precipitating factor is. You're not. Well, I had assumed that you are not about to begin your experiment as you did last time.
No, we generally leave the drive a bit of time between runs to give us a chance to see what the status of it is, plot out the next run, that kind of thing. So no, we weren't planning another hop until much later today, not within the next hour, as it's suggested that this incident occurs.
That's concerning.
Isn't
I'd
it?
assumed that then it would have been precipitated by you activating the faster than light travel.
It's certainly not something we were planning on doing in the next hour. Whether that's, obviously, if these events have occurred before and something unexpected happens, then obviously we don't know about it, and unless any of you can shed any light.
We were going, as I understand it, from I have personally no recollection, Captain. But as Commander Talander explained it to me, we were largely going about our business.
Mm-hmm.
Detected the energy wave, and then which damaged and then destroyed our ship, and that there was no sign of the Krasnikov. I read Krasnikov and Araz.
They've become one.
Krasnikov.
The Krasnikov we was probably destroyed before as the cause of the energy wave.
Right. Okay.
All I can account for is certainly having had a very particular sense of deja vu that morning, but I have no personal recollection. So, because from our perspective, if this happened before, we had no reason to investigate. We don't know a terrible amount.
Right. Okay. So, in that case, it sounds to me like what's missing here for all parties is information on what's going on.
Yes.
Right. Let's see, where's going to be the best place to start? You say the origin for this wave was our ship itself?
We believe so.
Right. Okay. So it's something on board us, which suggests to me that it's likely something to do with the engines if it is
Yes.
something of that magnitude and type of explosion.
That would make sense. And considering most forms of faster than light travel that are known of have some degree of interference with subspace, or then that was our assumption. And which does seem indeed to be supported by further investigation and examination of the systems.
Mm-hmm.
So for how long from your perspective, have you been conducting experiments in this area?
We've been in this area for a few days.
How many jumps?
The last one we did was our 4th.
Yes. Then we're detecting indications of microfissures in subspace, and I'm sure your transporter chief indicated that we had something of a time dilation experienced on using the transporters.
That's Commander Ara's nod. Yeah, Merbold did send something up along those lines just before we were coming in. It was what I was just having a look at.
We tried to minimize as soon as we detected the subspace, the microfissures. We resumed to impulse rather than utilizing warp engines and trying to maintain any kind of warp bubble in the area. I have no idea if that would have any impact whatsoever, but if there's damage to subspace, and it's possible that such damage to subspace could theoretically be perpetual, perpetual and permanent, existing in all points in time simultaneously. Possibly.
This again, Ara's pipes up. It's possible that it could be, but it seems unlikely that it would be something perpetual. We've had 4 good runs. Well, 3 good runs and possibly a 4th good one, depending on how this all turns out. There's been nothing from any of the previous 3 that suggested that there have been problems with subspace. So, and nothing after we did that 4th run that suggested that there was anything different. I'd imagine if it was something that is perpetual and permanent damage, we'd have noticed a more minor version of it before, given that there have been, as far as we were concerned, until about 10 minutes, half an hour ago, when you had a chat with us. As far as we were concerned, there was nothing different.
Can you summarize for me the nature of this propulsion system?
So roughly, it's kind of laser focus in the warp field, so that you have rather than just having a simple warp bubble around the ship itself, which is how conventional warp travel works for maintaining the Cochrane field. You instead focus it and create almost a temporary singularity. And by selecting where you aim that singularity at the point in space that you're wanting to travel to, it then vastly increases the speed at which you can get from point A to point B. Kind of like if you have almost if you put an elastic band.
I understand.
Between point A and point B, and use that as additional propulsion to get you forward. That's the very basic terms of it. I'm sure, you've read the basics of my research notes. I'm sure you've seen that it is far more complicated than that.
Of course. I suppose, imagine you've conducted all of the scans, so I don't really know if you have anything more. I can suggest if we're getting any distortions in the gravimetric field, if we have, I assume you have detected those disruptions that we did on our approach. Can you account for those, Commander?
We can't account for those microfissures in space-time that are the ones that you've noted yourselves. At present, we don't know what's caused them, but it does seem that the point of origin for them is the Krasnikov.
All right. So at the very least,
the only thing we've not got. So we've done scans of the area. The next thing that we were going to start having a look at is the drive itself.
And I assume we are at least in agreement that this is causing some sort of unexpected side effects.
And Captain Diamond goes, yes. It does appear that it is our drive that is causing this problem, or certainly seems to be the focal point.
Then I'm not an engineer, nor am I a
An eyebrow
warp
from
field
Lieutenant Sula.
expert, nor am I a warp field expert. I wouldn't wish to presume on what the next best step is for identifying either what's gone wrong or what is about to go wrong.
As Commander Aras has stated, this is the chief engineer, has stated, we have conducted the same scans that you have yourselves. The next link in the chain, as it were, would be to have a look at the drive and see what further information can be gleaned from it as to the nature of this interference in space-time and what can be done about it.
So, Captain, I know we've disrupted your day's routines, but would it be possible for us to review the day's routines as were planned out for operations on the systems, etc.? It's possible that we have disrupted, if we have disrupted anything that you would be doing normally, which might normally trigger this catastrophe. Even something which seems routine, which you have stopped to do as you are doing a review. By perceiving this, we're changing it.
Yes, no, of course. And I suppose at this stage, with the amount of information we've got, it's difficult to work out what may or may not affect it.
Quite. But then, yes, if we could take a look at the drive.
Yes, no, by all means, avail yourselves of the whichever of my staff you need to work this out. So you're working on more information than we have. You have a better idea of what may or may not be coming.
Very well. Then, Lieutenant Sula, if you would please let us see the drive.
Of course, this way. And you will be taken down to engineering. Are you all going?
Yeah, I guess it's three of us. I'm certainly going, why am I not at Reyes? But I'm not fucking bringing Reyes now. Like, I've got...
I'm not sure if you were just standing in here, the science notes of that, and you were going to review the routine stuff. But you can all go to engineering. That's
actually,
fine.
Yes. Athan will review like the plan log of day's activities to try insofar as she would fucking pick up on anything, but she's going to have a better overview, whereas like what's she going to fucking add to the scientific understanding beyond what these two have? She has no training which can double up on what which is more than what Casey and Talandra can do by looking at the thing.
For the purposes of going to the thing, Talandra is letting Casey sort of take the lead with the science. She is occasionally interjecting with points or questions or things that, again, I can't accurately fizz wrap, but she is sort of emotionally checked out, but like making sure that her knowledge is fairly sharp. But Casey is more than usual. Casey notices that he's being given just free rein to like poke and prod and quiz and science at it.
Okay, good to know. So yeah, we'll kick off with the engineering then, since we've now split the party. So yes, Lieutenant Zula will take you down to engineering. This is where, so like for the most part, the Krasenkov has looked basically like the Iskandar. It's all the same class of ship. Engineering is where it starts to look a bit less familiar. It's still, it's kind of hitting that almost but not quite kind of level of familiarity. The layout is essentially the same as the Iskandar's engineering section. The warp core is in the same place, but it looks quite different to how the core on the Iskandar looks. It looks a little bulkier, as you might expect for a prototype of something. Perhaps a little unfinished looking in some places in terms of the aesthetics of it, not in terms of anything structural as far as you can tell. And a little different in shape as well. and it's Lieutenant Sula will take you over to the core itself to have a look. So this is the experimental drive that Commander Aris has developed. As you can see, we have the focusers here and these crystals here that help focus the warp field into that singularity that you spoke of. As to what has caused the explosion, I'm not entirely certain. Enlighten me. What do you have any further details on what the explosion might be, or shall we start with simple diagnostics and go from there?
Talandra pauses and thinks and relays verbatim the readings that Casey and Kowalski delivered before the last time the ship exploded.
Okay.
Which will have been like panicked updates, but will be as best as she can remember it, what we read.
Sure. Let's see. In that case, I think we'll start with we'll skip the simple diagnostics and go straight to level 2 and see what we pick up from there then. But if you spot anything that might be aligned with what is previously or will be observed, then do point it out, as that will be the best place for us to then focus our efforts.
I am attempting to be aware of any and all changes.
Good. I think this will be engineering checks rather than science, but give me just a sec to double check that. Should have had this open before. Yeah, engineering checks from both of you.
Three.
+4.
Nice. That makes sense. You've seen this stuff before, sort of, maybe.
Yeah, the dice really are on my side. Talandra does not have any ranks in engineering.
Oh, cool. With Lieutenant Zula, you start having a look at the engine itself, and yeah, it looks very similar to a regular warp drive, but there's a lot of areas where things have been quite stripped back, and you have these additional components in it that have been added around the core. And as you look through the systems, you see that there are also similar components around the whole ship in the various parts of the kind of engineering nervous system of an Intrepid class that are now kind of spread in different places to make that work. York's exploding, apparently, at least in the center. The shockwave will get here in a minute. So yeah, you have a look through it, and I'm gonna say with both. In fact, no, Casey, you can pick up on this. You're having a look at some of the records from the previous runs that have been kept in engineering, and you have a look at they have records of the engine's performance through the run and after it, and you notice that there is a kind of a cyclic pattern to how it operates during a run. It takes a bit of time to kind of get spun up before they make the hop. There's a kind of a sharp spike in activity, as it were, in the engine, and then a kind of a slow ramp down of the engine's like temperature and the rate of reaction inside the core. And just from runs 1 to 2 to 3, there is a very slight difference in how quickly that engine cools down. Very slight. It's not, unless you were really closely scrutinizing it like you are now, it's not something that would be picked up. And it's only really, you can only really pick it up because you're looking at all 3 and getting the trend. Comparing 1 to 2, it's like, oh, that could just be, and that's within error margins. 2 to 3, same again. That's within the kind of allowed error bars on this for the performance. That's fine. But there's a very slight creep. Talandra,
if we were to extract that out to be a pattern, it's a degradation.
I wouldn't say it's a degradation. Creep is probably the better word for it. It's less that the engine's kind of degrading. It is just that it is taking a bit longer to cool down each time.
Okay.
Talandra, you work out the same thing as Casey from what you're looking at. What you're looking at is also the current data on the engine, which hasn't been added to the other data because you haven't got the complete picture yet. But you compare, and again, the difference from 3 to 4 is within the kind of the error bars that are expected for this engine. But when you take the trend that Casey's noticed from 1 to 2 to 3 and now to 4, that trend is there. You have that creep. And whilst it's still within expected error margins each time, this time if it was any worse, then it wouldn't be within those kind of allowable margins, and it is not cooling down completely, even though the engine's not on, but something just hasn't completely stopped within it.
Talandra will bring up the data on the screen that she has and just sort of point in that way that's just like this, and like get Casey's attention.
So the energy is persistent. So this is energy that hasn't been basically vented. This is accumulation of energy that has been building up since the past 3 jumps.
Yeah.
In many ways, that's excellent. That's the beginning of hypothesis as to why this is happening.
Yes. That certainly does seem to be the beginnings of whatever flaw may have caused this. It certainly seems the obvious, now that the data is laid out like this, the obvious cause to interrogate.
Given the nature of the energy that is being built up, what would be is there a kind of, in theory, this is how you would vent it, or is this the kind of build up that we haven't seen before, and so a venting process will need to be invented?
More like the latter. If you were going to try and come up with a way of venting it, it's not like what causes overheating? Vent the heat out into space. It's not like it's heat. It's more like to kind of stick with the elastic band metaphor that Aras was using to describe how this ship operates, it's like the band's been stretched a little more each time. And that's, yeah, you know how eventually with an elastic band, after it's been stretched and unstretched and stretched and unstretched a few times, and at some point, eventually, you might not stretch it that far, and then it suddenly goes ping. It's closer to that than it is engines overheating. Stick more coolant on it.
No, superb. This then soundly brings it into the remit of the Iskandar's excellent engineering team. So I will offer that of, if we can collaborate between your engineers and the Iskandar's, I'm confident that we can.
Excellent. Yes, the additional engineers and additional eyes on this will be very much appreciated, as with the extra hands working to come up with a solution to this problem, as it seems, for want of a better phrase, time may be of the essence.
Yes.
And on that, we jump to Vathan.
Paperwork.
Paperwork! You love paperwork!
I do actually love paperwork.
So, yes, you and Captain Diamond basically sit down at a chair and go through the routine operations of the ship for the day.
What was logs being on for the day, and also let's compare with the logs for what was done after each of the previous jumps, like within the time window. Every little thing, like how far did they travel at impulse? Did they do any other jumps? Did they perform any other operations? You know, so not only can we try to identify what might have triggered it, we can also see if anything was being done differently. That's all the fun is trying to hope for.
Yep. Give me an ops check. This is in fact exactly ops. Management, scheduling, understanding, and allocation of ship's resources. This is probably the most opsy ops check we've ever done.
4.
Very ops. So yeah, you two sit down and have a look through the details and compare what's going on now, what was going to be done, and how that compares with what was done after previous runs. So with what's happening now, there are a few differences with what was logged. What was logged for what was going to be happening. For one thing, the next run's been taken off the list for now.
Yeah.
And there are no plans for the originally run 5 was scheduled for in about 4 hours time.
Okay.
Or so.
How does that relate with, insofar as we have a concept of when the explosion is supposed to happen?
So from as far as you can tell from what you remember from what Talandra's been saying, the explosion would be happening in about an hour.
Okay, cool.
So the run was scheduled for about 3 hours after.
Okay.
You would expect an earth-shattering kaboom.
Yep.
In between the previous run, which was done the day before, you can see that there are logs of checking that the engine was still operating, checking that you'd landed in that they'd landed in the where it is scheduled, what were the errors on navigation, that kind of thing, and what, if any, maintenance the engine needs between runs. Doesn't seem to have needed much. Previous ones there have been, we'll make a tweak to this. Nothing major that looks like it's been logged.
Okay.
It all looks like it's fairly minor. Oh, we'll just tighten this up here. This bit could maybe do with a slight recalibrate. That kind of thing. All stuff that you'd expect from testing something that's experimental.
Okay. Yeah. Unless anything leaps out, Athan is gonna study that because you don't know what you're gonna find until you do or don't find it.
Yeah.
So,
No, as far as you can tell. So what has been logged for in about an hour's time
yeah.
is just regular routine maintenance on parts of the ship that
Okay.
are exactly the kind of thing that you've probably got scheduled over on the Iskandar for at a very similar kind of time. Just deeply boring maintenance stuff. That's the kind of thing that you'd send. That well, I say you, Reyes would probably
Yeah.
send Strange to go to because it's really dull.
Okay. So as far as Athan can tell, there is no reason to think that anything that's on the previous loops, that there is no reason to think that the crew of the Krasnikov did anything that specifically triggered it.
If everything happens in the next hour, kind of according to this log
Yeah.
on previous explosions, then no, there's nothing in the
Okay.
planned activities that would suggest.
Okay.
Boom.
I see no reason for us to think that the answer's here. Whatever's going on might be cumulative rather than triggered.
In some ways that's useful, but in some ways it's deeply unhelpful as it doesn't pinpoint a particular cause as to why my ship's blown up.
We've eradicated something at the least, unless trying to scrub the ODN relays is that absolutely critical.
It seems unlikely that scrubbing
I
the
agree.
relays is likely to cause a ship's explosion, given that they happen fairly frequently on Intrepid classes all across the galaxy. So,
Quite.
unless you've noticed the Iskandar nearly blowing up from checking those relays, seems unlikely to be that.
I can't say it's happened. Well, let's see if they've had any luck in engineering. Advanced Landra.
Landra here, go ahead.
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
There is a pause.
Oh.
There is a pause until Talandra responds.
Everything all right, Commander?
Is that said to
Yeah, like the
arrows
pause
on the bridge? Oh, to Talandra.
Yeah. Presumably, like from Athan's perspective, she tries to get the attention. There is a
and gets
pause,
nothing.
and then eventually Talandra answers. So Athan is for the moment going to assume that like Talandra had her elbows up to something or whatever. So yeah, just replies with everything all right, Commander?
As far as you're concerned, Talandra, no gap. You just got the call from Athan, and she pretty much immediately said, "Is everything all right?"
Another long pause, and Talandra will say, everything continues apace on the bridge, in engineering, Captain. Lieutenant Casey and I have discovered a couple of discrepancies that might prove fruitful.
Does Talandra's voice now come through instantaneously?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Had a momentary delay on the comms there before you replied. Was that your end, or are we suffering some more time dilation effects?
No delay noted on my end, Captain.
Give Diamond a bit of a look. There's nothing.
Worried quirk of the eyebrow from her.
There's nothing that we found up here which suggests that anything that was scheduled in the logbook could have triggered anything. You have any leads?
Yes, Captain, we believe so. Talandra will then Talandra will then launch into quite a complicated breakdown of what she and Casey discovered. And then I guess we'll end with the classic Trek TLDR. It's like a balloon and something bad happens.
Stretchy elastic band.
There used to be a thing called an elastic band.
Elastic still exists.
Don't have filing anymore.
Even if elastic bands don't exist, the concept of elasticity still exists, for fuck's sake.
This is a post-paperless office world.
No, the concept of elasticity still exists.
Do you remember the popular Earth pop culture Elastigirl?
Why don't we go back to the Iskandar and watch Invincible?
So your recommendation is to try to vent this pressure?
That is currently what Lieutenant Casey is theorizing.
All right, so that's something which is going to need to be done from aboard the Krasnikov.
Talandra will quirk an eyebrow to Casey.
Casey will quirk an eyebrow to the DM.
To God.
you look up to the sky. Yeah, well, it needs to be done with the drive. Whether that's done on the Krasnikov or the Iskandar is up to you.
The drive will need to be involved.
Have to remain aboard the Krasnikov, Captain.
Very well. Then let's get Lieutenant Reyes over here. I'll return to the Iskandar. I think there's no point in me being underfoot with Captain Diamond. And if you wish to supervise matters with the support team, Commander, we'll try to lend a hand as much as we can.
Captain, thank you, Captain.
The entire last kind of 3 sentences or so of that conversation, peppered with glitches. And speeding up and slowing down and all sorts of nonsense. It's not that to the point of incomprehensibility, which is why I didn't interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm with Talandra. Like, is she speeding up and slowing down?
I'm just glitching on you.
No, the only speeding up and slowing down that you're noticing is whatever you can hear of Athan's half of the conversation that's coming through. So it's not just Talandra that's glitching. So those of you in engineering, from your perspective, Athan's glitching. Athan, from your perspective, you're hearing glitches from Talandra. In the same room, no glitches.
Some science fiction shit right here.
Okay. Captain, it seems if we don't necessarily have that much time, you'll indulge me for having a shuttle bring my chief engineer over, and I'll return to my ship.
Of course. Would you like to borrow one of our shuttles for going back to the Iskandar, or will you wait for...
I'll wait. I think it's not a matter of
engineers?
urgency, but if something goes wrong, I'd rather be on my bridge. Especially with my XO here.
Yes, quite.
Right, I will send a message to the Iskandar just to make sure that comes through clearly under the circumstances, and I might want to find out what the hell's interfering with our systems, your systems.
Yes, quite.
Yeah, I'm going to text Iskandar to tell Reyes to bring a shuttle over. And yeah, the intent.
Text or are you like just communicating?
Communicating via text. Basically, Athan is going to send a written transmission back
right,
to
okay,
Iskandar.
that's what I was wanting to
Sorry,
say.
yes.
Is this a voice communication, or is it actually when you say text?
Literally text, because if there's being disruption, it's just at least probably going to come through, just maybe delayed. But make sure that it comes with a acknowledgement of receipt, like she's going to, please acknowledge that you've received this message, Iskandar. And if she doesn't get an acknowledgement of receipt within like a minute, then we have a problem.
58 seconds later, you get a response from Ray. You get the acknowledgement of receipt.
Yeah. Okay.
The text looks a little corrupted, but it's still clearly legible. It's clear. So something has clearly happened to the message as it's been sent across. That means it's looking a little off.
I'm going to go down to engineering.
And kill someone.
And kill Casey. Okay. Because I can. But at the very least, then Athana is going to wait with her gang until or unless Reyes shows up. Because who knows when Reyes is going to show up if we're timey-wimey shit is going on.
Okay. So you start making your way down to engineering.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, the trip down to engineering is fine.
Except
there is a point where you're going down one of the longer corridors on the ship on your way down, and there's what looks like an engineering ensign coming down the hall the other way. You'd swear they were going in slow-mo.
Okay, fuck this.
And then as you get close to them, now they're not. Now they seem to be moving at normal speed.
In fact, fuck it. I'm going to pull out the tricorder and be like, what the fuck is going on here? And just like run a quick scan. Like of the area, not of them.
Just get these people. What the fuck are
you
doing?
Ensign, the fuck's your problem? Right, give us that'll be a science check.
Sorry, folks, I'm not a nerd.
Sorry, idiot.
I eat my tricorder.
What do you actually get?
-3.
Okay, you don't eat your tricorder. -5.
Pretty.
It's pretty close. Lick it a bit.
Yeah, you lick the tricorder. -5 would be you ate the tricorder. -4, you start chewing on it a little bit. Going, ang, ang. Oh wait, no, not sandwich.
Just watching them step off.
Yeah, you make
tricorder
unbroken. It is uncomfortably intense eye contact for both of you, really, but you maintain it nonetheless.
He makes this look so easy.
I hate that guy.
As far as you can tell, nothing's wrong. The ensign
tricorder.
The ensign doesn't seem to notice that you've suddenly pulled out a tricorder. They're busy. There's something. They've been told by Commander Aras there's something going wrong, and they don't want to incur the wrath of the angry Scouser.
Fair.
So they carry on up the corridor, and as they get a little bit further away, it's like they suddenly speed up.
You really would have thought we'd have finished remastering Skyrim by now.
No, sorry.
It's so glitchy.
It's really glitchy, I'm afraid, this one. There's a lot of bugs in this edition of Skyrim.
I proceed to engineering, trying to not T-pose my way there.
That's visceral. I need a moment. That's... Has anyone ever said a sentence and you just need to take a walk?
I know that feeling. Not for this specific sentence.
I was going to say.
Yes, I thought manages to successfully not T-pose her way to engineering.
Good. Right, what the fuck's going on in here?
Did you tell the folks down in engineering you were going that way?
No, actually, because...
Okay, cool. Just for reference, really.
Yeah, like how long from their perspective does it take?
Yeah, exactly that. But if you didn't tell them, then they can't check. So whilst Athan is going down from bridge to engineering on the Krasnikov. So you carry on looking through the data you've got, now that you've got somewhere to focus your efforts. Make me notice checks.
Uh-oh.
Talandra, make me a notice check and do better than the boy.
He licks his eyeballs.
-1, so I'm still better than you, shit eyes.
3.
Casey, you don't notice shit.
What if tricorders could be sent?
What? No, so it's like you've done better than just lick tricorder. You've been there, you've done that. You know what tricorder tastes like, and you're not going to just take a bite out of it. That would be weird. You go and get 2 slices of bread and think, I'm a smart boy. I'm going to make the tricorder isn't a sandwich. But what if I make it into a sandwich? Meanwhile, the adult in the room, Talandra, just kind of on the edge of your hearing, you hear a sound coming from the engine of a high-pitched whine. Now that you've noticed it, it's getting very slightly louder.
Talandra, I think, is going to immediately jump to action stations and will request all of the computer readouts from the last minute.
Of course, Lieutenant Zilla will bring those up. So, the engine cooling down problem. It had been going down, down, and now it's flatlining. And it hasn't got back to where it was before. And then it ticks up a bit. And up a bit more.
I have reason to believe it's happening again.
I see.
Look to the data. What could have caused this? How long have we had?
It's getting about the time. Probably, actually, no, it's not quite. Since you actually remember the previous loop, and have probably made a note of, as exactly as you could, the time when the previous explosion happened. It's actually it's a little bit later than it was before. Not by much, but like about 10-15 minutes. But you have gone a bit past the point where you would have expected the explosion to actually happen.
In approximately 10 minutes longer. Lieutenant Casey, report.
What is the data telling me?
Give us a science check, not a high difficulty one though. Just don't balls it up.
I didn't balls it up.
Congrats! I don't need to know the number, but you didn't balls it up. That's good enough. So, what it was kind of doing this. Now it's getting close. It's looking more like you're kind of hitting that stage, rather than a gradual relaxing of the elastic band. It's looking more like one end has just started to slip. I'm really glad I just found this on the sofa.
I was just thinking, I'm really glad Emily was so prepared as to bring an elastic band.
I found it. I was just like, my metaphor.
There's an imbalance in the energies. We are approaching lopsidedly, but we are approaching the point where it will slip again. I have no theory as to what might cause. He says calmly, knowing doom is coming.
You can hear the whine now.
He looks concerned.
For the people who noticed it before, it's almost seeming quite loud. Athan, you enter engineering. You hear the whine.
That's not supposed to be doing that. Report. You're muted.
I'm going to say that happens, I see.
Yeah.
Talandra is looking to respond, but she's actually like troubleshooting as best she can. So she's aware that we have kind of seconds, and so she is looking to look into any fluctuations that are happening, any data that she can memorize in the meantime, knowing that the ship's kind of pretty much doomed.
Neat. Vulcans, man.
Fucking Vulcans, man.
I think I'm going to start to gently panic.
Okay, that's good. I can handle that, Ria.
This isn't comforting, and I'm about to die.
Literally blanked by the Vulcan, but the Vulcan is like, right, time to accept death and memorize shit. What's Casey doing?
I'm going to sit down. I have my pad. I know in theory that I should be spending this time analyzing and remembering as much data as possible, but I also know I'm about to die, so I'm going to sit down and I'm going to be staring kind of above the pad, just kind of whispering to myself.
What?
Because this is horrible. This is terrible.
Fuck's
At
sake.
least the previous times I've died, I didn't know it was coming, or it was enough of a kind of ramp up, all is lost, that you can just accept it. I didn't realize I'd be guts deep in the analytical data, watching my death approaching on screen. This is awful.
Receiving basically no useful responses. I guess Athan is going to... Like, she's walked in, the thing is humming. She only about 90% believed what was going on as well, which is never a pleasant 10% kind of like.
Does she 100% believe it now? I bet she does.
No, she 100% believes that something bad's going to happen, but she doesn't 100% believe that we're actually going to time loop. Like,
that's fair. That's fair.
So, is Commander what's her face? Ara's panicking.
You can't tell, she's on the bridge.
No, we've got Sula.
So
we've got
you've got the other Vulcan who is looking over your shoulder, looking at data, and in which case, basically seems to be doing exactly the same thing you are. Now,
in which case, Talandra has gone fully into the questioning mode. What do you make of this? Is this what one would expect in this situation?
No, not at all. This isn't what we would expect in this situation. We would expect the engine to continue to cultivate its baseline state so that
this
it would be
readout is spiking.
ready.
Is that relevant to the way that the engine is supposed to manifest?
It's not similar to
going over to
an initial spike when the engine.
I'm putting a hand on his poor wee shoulder, and I'm giving it a gentle squeeze.
With
He looks up at her and says,
"Next time, Lieutenant."
And I feel like that's the point to go. The camera pulls out a little bit. We see Athan with her hand on Casey's shoulder. Casey curled up on the floor. Talandra and Sula frantically memorizing data.
Nothing frantic, they're eerily calm.
Well, yeah.
Vulcan frantic.
Yeah, Vulcan frantic. Rapidly memorizing data then. And the whine of the engine reaches a crescendo. Can you all make me will checks? For all characters again.
boy.
Well, either the boy has done very well or very badly.
Oh, Zal. Zal, you don't even know this is happening, do you?
Zal thinks it's yesterday. Never mind what day it actually is. Zal thinks that something's happening again and then goes, oh, wait, no, that was Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. I'm an idiot.
Yep.
Okay, Mike. Start with you. What you got?
Casey got 6, Zal got -1.
Cool beans.
There's gonna be in 2 loops time, Zal's gonna come sprinting onto the bridge and be like, I think this has
I just think it's a time loop.
To be fair, there's no guarantee. Yeah, like that might be the time when no one else remembers.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we have this mechanic. Izzy.
I see your smart one, stupid one, and raise you. Talandra gets 6. Dr.
Nice.
Arkady Burov gets -2.
Nice.
Burov's gonna sprint into Zal's quarters and just go, Caris, what? We're supposed to get lunch.
Oh!
Cool. Kath, what have yours got?
Fucking deeply unimpressive rolls for Athan and Reyes of a 2 and a 3, which are like decent, but that was like flat nothing on the dice for both of them.
Okay, so 2 for
but-
Athan, 3 for Reyes.
But Elrod got a 5.
Oh,
my
nice.
boy.
You guys have done well this time.
Yeah. Well,
Hey, considering that, so for reference, last time we had a +5 on Zal. Casey had 3, Reyes had 1, Elrad 2, Talandra 7, -1 on Burov, and 0 on Athan. The average is much higher this time.
yeah.
Cool. Right. I'm gonna get you your results out.
Mm-hmm.
A sec. But while we're doing that, do we want to go for break
Yeah. Start.
before the next loop?
Especially
Cool.
as we need to decompress as our character brains fucking reset, because we're only assuming we'll be able to remember coherently what the fuck's happened.
I just want Talandra to wake up and just be like, right, okay, where was I? I'm just gonna go write that down.
Cool. In that case, we will go for an break and be back by half past.
Sounds good.
Half past.
Half past.
Half. What up, folks? Welcome back to part 3 of session 7 of Hysteresis. We've been at this a while. This episode has been going on for several months at this point. We're not sure what time is anymore.
Happy Christmas. Welcome back to Star Trek
Yeah,
Iskandar.
happy Christmas 2023. Welcome back to Star Trek Iskandar.
God, if only.
No, welcome back for part 2, session 2 of Hysteresis. We're still in time loops and are just about to start on loop 3. Let's see who, if anybody amongst the crew, knows what the fuck is going on. So, it is stardate 57394.24, and it's a new day on the Iskandar. The ship is on course to Starbase 328 to pick up scientific supplies to courier to another outpost, and currently carrying non-urgent medical supplies for the Starbase itself. You are being a glorified postie. The Iskandar is currently cruising past the 31 Cygni system, and you are set to arrive at the Starbase in about 3 days. Everything is fairly quiet. Do we have any takers for kicking us off? Also happy to fast forward, but to get the initial, who knows what, we're going to have the morning.
I have no idea what he may know, but as far as the day goes, Commander.
Yeah.
I'm the commander.
Yes.
He's the Mr. Elrad knows that Talandra never showed up for their planned breakfast date, and she is tediously punctual. So he gets to about 5 minutes past whatever the time is, and she has not shown up in the mess hall.
Perfect. I love it.
So I guess I'm volunteering Kath. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, okay. A somewhat discombobulated Elrad will. No, he'll calm her. Elrad to Commander Talandra.
Talandra here, go ahead.
I did not receive any notification of that you weren't able to attend breakfast. Shall we rearrange for some other time?
We did. Oh. Forgive me, Mr. Elrad. We had breakfast yesterday, and so it is still yesterday. Yes. Forgive me, I am in my quarters. I suddenly had some notes I needed to make. We should reschedule for another time. I don't suppose you remember yesterday, do you?
Sorry, I need a second. I appreciate this morning has been I've woken somewhat out of sorts myself, but I recall yesterday we were going to talk, but did I make that new book recommendation to you?
Yes, I have given it my first pass, but I haven't gathered my notes. Sign of the Burned Hand, correct?
Yes.
Yes. No, I will I shall get you up to speed as best as possible. If you are currently experiencing something akin to powerful deja vu, that is likely because you have lived this day before.
Excuse me?
You have lived this day before, Mr. Elrad. We all have.
He looks at his cup of coffee. Lived this day before.
Yes, this is our, I believe, 4th attempt, which is why I am attempting to get down some fairly complicated warp engine science that I learned on the 3rd rotation. Hence why I am very I apologize. I will not be able to make breakfast.
Very well, Commander. I will. Is there anything you need?
Would you be able to make contact with Lieutenant Casey and see if he has any knowledge of the time loop?
I will speak with Lieutenant Casey.
Thank you. And of course, if you should remember anything about the previous rotations, I will be glad to collate. It seems that I have a strong grasp of what has happened during previous rotations, and I shall be making copious notes.
Very well. I will speak with Lieutenant Casey. I'll leave you to your notes. Oop. Okay, so she's fucking snapped.
So your girlfriend's broken.
I woke up a bit out of sorts, bit of like weird dream kind of thing, but she's gone totally cuckoo for cuckoo puffs. Like, I'm.
Now that we had a ship's counselor,
Yeah,
we really need
we
one.
really do, but like, let's go to her boy. Let's go to her boy.
I thought you were going to get to Borov and be like,
Borov
the Vulcan's broken.
As Elrad leaves the mess, they of course pass by Borov holding their coffee cup, just having the best fucking day. Morning.
Being relentlessly chirpy, yeah.
Oh, Doctor.
Yes, Mr. Elrad.
I have a possibly a strange question for you.
Oh.
And I ask you to not read anything too much into it.
I shall do my best.
Vulcans experience deja vu. In the traditional Cardassian phrase.
Oh yes, that phrase that we both know.
Yes.
I mean, I don't imagine that it's one of those things that
Memory recall is an erratic thing across most
Ah.
psychologies and brains, I would assume.
indeed, it's one of those things that we all sort of experience from time to time. Given that Vulcans are like telepathic people, I would not put it past their ability to recall memories that might not have happened yet or might not be theirs to recall. But as far as I assume, oh no, I'm not supposed to read into it.
No.
Well, given that there is only one Vulcan who is of our mutual acquaintance, not as far as I know, but that's a first time for anything. I get it all the time. I'm not a Vulcan though. The
Well,
Cardassians get it.
It is something which happens.
Huh.
Well, thank you for my concerns about Ensign Kuvak.
Of course.
To go. Because that answer was yes, but no.
Not as good a liar as he thinks he is. Anyway, no need to read too much into that. Oh, just explain.
I'm gonna go find Casey.
Casey is full body sprinting down a corridor to a turbo lift.
Lieutenant.
Gets to a halt. He looks
Full
wide-eyed.
cartoon mode here.
He's like struggling a comm badge on just to indicate that he's only just dressed. Mr. Elrod.
Something seems to be amiss.
Yes, please come with me. He runs the turbo lift.
Follow.
How much do you remember? This is as the turbo lift is going. He's kind of jittery, jumping from.
Are you also about to ask me if I remember yesterday?
Yes, because we're in a time loop.
Well, the commander asked if I could speak with you about that.
Excellent. That means that she's likely retained a lot of the data that we will need. What we now need to do is see if Captain Athan remembers anything of yesterday. If she does not, we are going to spend the next 5-10 minutes convincing her and getting scans running in that time to assess the continuing damage.
Lieutenant.
Yes.
If you were reporting to me in this condition with these phrases, I would probably be more likely to send you to the doctor.
I will do my best to be more collected.
Bring me my boy. Bring my boy to me.
Truly is of.
Very well. It seems insignificant as to whether or not I am convinced.
I would rather you were. And he will begin recanting what he remembers up to and including the continuing growth of micro fissures within time space itself. The fact that this newfangled warp engine isn't venting energy properly, which is leading to detonations. And that this continual damage might mean that this point might stop repeating. It might just stop being a point altogether.
Elrad will listen pretty, not blank-faced, but non-expressively.
And that is the situation. Best I am.
Very well. The commander clearly would wish to speak with you.
He said, in that case, can you convince the captain, which would have been awful to do to you.
Also,
It would
not
be
successful.
funny.
I'll give you fucking spoilers for nothing.
Yeah, like that would be funny for two reasons.
Yeah.
One, because Kath would have to golem so hard with herself to make that work, and also because Elrond doesn't fucking believe this. Athan definitely doesn't if she's still like, being, as grumpy as she's been in the last few loops.
And
So
also,
that's just gonna get absolutely
it would be a terrible
nowhere.
idea.
You should just be very lucky that Burov and Athan never interact in this loops because they are black. They are both the black hole and whatever the opposite of a black hole is of good morning. It's a lovely day. Die.
Morning.
Okay.
Did she indicate that she wanted to speak with me in person?
Yes. I think this is a conversation that's probably best had in person.
Very well.
Or unless you already recall exactly what it is the two of you are planning on achieving during this time loop.
I think I'm going to be best served checking on the captain and getting the on board first and foremost. Ultimately, any communication that we have with the Kalashnikov, I keep getting that name wrong, I'm sorry, and they're going to be the most critical element that we have under our control.
Then carry on, Lieutenant.
Okay.
And get the fuck out of the way of this situation.
And it's Krasnikov, not Kalashnikov.
Kalashnikov. Yeah, like the gun. It's weird. They named it after the gun. I guess maybe at some point in the thousands of years between the gun and there was a better Kalashnikov.
I mean, a couple 100 years. 300 years.
I was expecting a Chekhov's gun joke in there somewhere.
Yeah. It's going to shoot subspace.
Yeah.
Pavel Chekhov appears.
I need the Athan montage element first, and then I'll.
Okay. Yeah. Elrond fucking leaves him to it. I guess he will probably be ultimately headed for Talandra, but
Elrond wants none of this.
Not really.
No.
So yeah. So what is this? Are we moving to Casey seeking Athan?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So shift kind of the focus to Athan so that we could suddenly have this boy appear
And that
and
fucking-
science boy all over you.
Walking desk in her fucking ready room. Like prepares himself and dies.
Right, everybody make a will check for going again on this loop.
just
Mike's
a loop where
dead.
Casey trips up and dies.
Don't tempt me.
Captain,
Lieutenant, what can I do for you?
how are you feeling today?
I'm
personally,
fine.
do you have any feelings of deja vu?
Go on.
We are in a time loop. I'm going to give you a lot of information. It's going to involve an elastic band by way of an. Hopefully, by the end of it, you will understand the true ramifications of everything that is happening. Unfortunately, I must be speedy in this, as time is of the essence. Your involvement in this capacity to get hold and analyze this warp drive that the
Krasnikov.
Raznikov have installed.
Write it down.
And then cut, screen, picture of the Krasnikov, picture of space and fissures in space. That is as far as we got in terms of our analysis before the last ceased to be. Seems that Lieutenant Commander Talandra has retained a lot of information and is already doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of data analysis. But I needed desperately for the situation.
Did you?
Yes.
Lieutenant, you're suggesting to me that you believe that the Krasnikov is conducting experiments on a new form of propulsion technology, which is causing such effects upon space-time that you are experiencing a loop, that you are reliving the events over and over.
Yes, Captain.
And you're suggesting that we approach the Krasnikov, inform them that their experiments are going awry, and that we need to take a look at it.
Yes, Captain.
Lieutenant, let us for a moment assume that at least your fundamental premise that there is something going on the Krasnikov based upon what must be vastly advanced Starfleet technology, which will have been years in development, which is currently being operated by officers who will have studied, developed, and mastered this over hundreds or thousands of hours. And you are proposing that this is something to which you will find the solution.
At the moment, in this occurrence, it seems that myself and Lieutenant Commander Talan are the people in best position to find and it seems like the retention of capacity and memory is not persistent between loops. So it might well be that next time you do not have us to help.
Since I understand it must be very disappointing right now, considering that our operation is to transport to the 31 Sigma system some incredibly mundane material, and that we have not, nor will we for the foreseeable future, be conducting high-end, cutting-edge scientific experiments or observations. But that is just something which we're going to have to make peace with. I have little patience right now, Lieutenant, for any of my officers continuing to believe that only they, are special, brilliant enough to be able to resolve a crisis when there are officers of more experience, more expertise, more focus. In this case, on a project which you have had nothing to do with.
Captain, I'm not stating that I am the resolution to I'm asking for.
My assistance to inform the crew of the Krasnikov that my lieutenant's junior grade believes that their vastly sophisticated propulsion system is broken in a way in which they presumably would have no awareness.
When we come to inevitably ask the Kalashnikov, can I at least ask that you make communication with them to verify what I am saying, not in any other capacity found out?
I think you are operating on several assumptions there on what I think, on how you could have learned anything. If there's nothing for us to be done yet anyway, until we're in range of the Krasnikov, then might I suggest then you speak with Commander Talandra?
Yes, Captain.
And reflect again upon the position that we are in. We do not have the liberty of indulging our hunches in this way. Our mission Is report to 31 Cygni system and conduct a delivery.
Yes, Captain.
Dismissed.
I leave.
Drag that boy.
Not offended.
I'm entertained. I don't care whether you're offended or not. I'm having fun watching you be dragged.
I will go and report to the commander.
See if your other mum's more receptive. Yeah. Crack on.
Commander.
Who is it?
Lieutenant Casey.
Come in.
Forgive my tardiness. I attempted to persuade Captain Athan that this situation...
You should not have done that, Ensign. If you recall between this loop... Lieutenant, if you recall between this loop and the next, do not. I have every reason to believe that she'll only respond to me. I would have instructed you to have not approached the captain if you'd have reported in. Anyway, sit. I have been getting down all the information I remember from the last 2 minutes whilst we documented the time bleed. But I will need you to write down everything else you remember.
Of course. We start churning out that data.
But at some point, Talandra will be done with what she...
You write down everything you remember?
At some point, Talandra's going to be done with the bits that she can accurately remember. And she'll turn and say... Like, they're in her quarters. She's just got, like, you know, as many notes and screens up as she possibly can. And she will say, our memories of the situation are all well and good, but do we have a solution?
No.
Very well. Then I will leave you here to synthesize, and I will go and attempt to smooth things over with the captain.
Very well.
Then she just leaves Casey in her room.
Quick, look through a diary.
Am I her favorite?
Dear diary, Casey approached the captain about the time loop thing. Idiot. How did she update this so fast?
Wow. I was there.
But yeah, Talandra, you can go up to go see Captain Athan.
Is she grumpy on the bridge or grumpy in her ready room?
Grumpy in a ready room.
Ding ding.
Come in.
Captain,
Commander.
I understand you have had a conversation with Lieutenant Casey.
A somewhat incoherent conversation with Lieutenant Casey, yes.
Yes, one that I would not have advised him to do.
92.
Nevertheless, unfortunately, he has come to you with accurate, if incoherent, information.
That we are in a time loop.
Yes, Captain. It is not quite how I would have phrased it. However, we have every reason to believe that we will soon be passing by the USS Krasnikov, captained by Captain Darman. Commander Aras is their chief science officer and is an expert in the field of experimental warp field technology. I have been spending my morning attempting to document as much as I remember from the plans that Commander Aras shared with me, with the intention that should I make contact with her again, I will be able to jump straight to the science without the need of the persuasion. I am sorry because I am aware that this is very unsettling news to receive apropos of nothing, but this is the 4th time I have lived this day. And I believe there is no reason to believe that it is not the fourth time that you and any other member of this crew have relived this day.
Except for the fact that I have no recollection of this.
Yes, I am not certain what it is that causes it. I was the only one that remembered the third rotation, but I believe I have spoken to many crew members on every rotation about a uncanny sense of deja vu. That popular Vulcan expression. I believe that initially I believed that it was something to do with my own species biology, but given that Lieutenant Casey now remembers, I wonder if it is to do with... I wonder if it is simply a matter of luck.
I have no intention of redirecting this ship to confront the Krasnikov on whatever it is that they're doing.
Nor shall you need to, Captain. At our current heading, I believe we will move relatively close to the Krasnikov in X point Y hours. In previous rotations, you have reached out to hail the captain as matter of a polite courtesy. My communication with Commander Aras in the previous rotation was entirely of my own doing. She was, if I recall, receptive to conversation.
So what have I done on previous? I reached out to the Krasnikov, and then you've, of your own volition, also approached crew members of the Krasnikov. God damn it! I had it right now. Mike's fucked it for me. It's written down.
My memories of the first few rotations are hazy, Captain. But if I recall, you have reached out to the ship. We have done nothing, and then some hours later, we have all been destroyed in an energy wave that centers on the Krasnikov. In the previous rotation, I reached out to the Lieutenant Commander for more access to their science so that I could begin studying a potential solution to our problem. Then the Krasnikov reached out to us and invited us aboard their ship.
And what are you intending? What then? How do you think that we're stopping this time loop?
I am currently uncertain, Captain. I have Lieutenant Casey looking over the science that I have documented. Towards the end of the last time loop, there were some anomalies in the blah 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 technobabble, blah 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 technobabble, which may well be addressed if given enough time. But as it stands at the moment, we must find some solution, because I am not confident that the ruptures in subspace will remain ruptures for long. It may well be that we only have a certain number of rotations before we can no longer relive the same day.
Commander, I would like you to put together a summary, including your proposals for what might be done, and anything that might lend credence to your report, something which they might detect, something which could support this claim.
Gladly, Captain.
Once we are in range of the Krasnikov, I will speak with the captain. if she is receptive, I will send this bundle, and we will let these experts of their systems utilize this information accordingly, and we will be on our way. We will not address directly other officers, bypassing the chain of command.
Understood, Captain. With your permission, I will co-opt Lieutenant Reyes into this task.
I think if you and Lieutenant Casey are the ones who remember this, then you and Lieutenant Casey are the ones who remember this.
Indeed, Captain. But I believe what we were missing previously was the eye of a senior engineer. It may well be that fresh eyes on this matter
Commander,
is what is required.
This is what you're getting for this claim.
Captain, I do not believe that I have adequately stated the severity of the situation that we are in.
I believe you've made your assertions, and this is the leeway I am giving these assertions.
Understood, Captain. She will leave.
Okay.
This time, Loop, we're giving all the information to the Kalashnikov, and they're going to fix it.
What ship's that, Mike? There's no ship by that name in the area. There's this ship.
Next time, Loop, Talandra wakes up, messages Casey, and says, "Don't talk to the captain." Idiot.
Ever again.
Just
Friendship ended.
You are banned from speaking to the captain. But no, cool. So
yeah, this Loop-a-thon doesn't want to look like a fucking idiot, so we're gonna put this shit, like, put a lid on this shit as much as we can, and stop the boy wonder and whatever the fuck's going on with my Vulcan. To just
tell me, Doom.
Talandra puts together her data packet.
Casey's so fucking salty about this. It's like, we have finite opportunities to save ourselves. I'm going insane. If I can't be a part of this process beyond sending a briefing packet, I'm gonna go. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do.
Let this be a lesson for the future, Lieutenant. That is not simply a matter of being correct, but of persuading others that you are correct.
that's my plan.
I have nothing. Like, there's a nodding. There's a bitter lesson learned. I have nothing more to do this Loop. Let it rain.
That's fair. Is it just the two of you? Do you go and drag Reyes into this anyway?
No,
Captain
we've been
said no.
forbidden.
That doesn't mean you go do it.
That's true.
This is why I asked. Casey might.
No.
Casey will get vented into the cold, heartless vacuum of space. Is what
Let this Loop fucking burn.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
we're seeing this through. God damn it.
Lieutenant.
Unless you go like punch the captain.
Lieutenant, regardless of the situation that we are in, we shall continue to act as if we have options.
Yes, Lieutenant. Commander.
Fuck did you call me? I punched
you might not
Casey.
remember.
This is the worst.
might not
frame
remember
line.
next time.
We can't do this.
Okay, so you pull together your briefing packet.
It is comprehensive. It
It
is not a briefing packet.
Thick boy of a
Yeah,
briefing
it is
packet.
not a briefing packet. It is a fucking Viva marking notes. It is, I've looked at your science. Here are my thoughts. But we'll draw specific attention to the absolute micro changes in the cooldown time that we noticed before. And how the ship did not even have to be started up for the previous destruction to occur.
Yep, Athan, you get this fucking novel dumped on your desk.
Like, Athan's not reading the whole thing.
Just the abstracts.
It's just the abstract. And sorely considers whether or not she needs to, like... She's like, if I call the Krasnikov and they say, we are scanning this sun, lady, then I'm getting those two down to the doctor. Like... If there wasn't, like, there is a quantifiable thing I can check up on to find out if they're talking utter shit, then this would be going a lot worse.
Is that asking if there is something in this that is a...
No, she can talk to the Krasnikov. Like, that's like, yeah, I was saying if the Krasnikov are like, new propulsion system, no idea what the fuck you're talking about, then we have other problems. But
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's she's gonna wait until we're in, try to skim of it so she can, you know, comprehensively express what the fuck.
My science officer and my exo broke. This is what they said.
Does this sound even plausible? Yeah, that's the plan.
Cool. Yeah, you have a skim through this fucking novel of a report that's just been handed over to you.
It has definitely been written specifically for Commander Aras. Like, it has been sort of addressed to her, knowing that she is the one that's going to get the most out of this.
Yeah, it's in that case, given that it is written mostly for Commander Aras, then it is intensely mathematical. Like, very maths. There's several pages that don't have words on, just symbols. But you skim through and get an idea. Yeah, here are some things you could at least say to the captain of the Krasnikov.
Subspace fissures, pressure building up in the... Some sort of pressure building up of the tensions of how it's fucking interfacing with space-time, elastic band.
Yeah, you get the idea. So, this has all been dumped on your desk, and now you wait. For about, we'll say about 45 minutes after you've had this thing handed over to you. And then Kowalski, who I presume you've instructed to go, just tell us when the Krasnikov's nearby. Because Krasnikov's in hailing range, Captain.
I'll be in my ready room, but I'm going to put a line through to them.
All right.
From her ready room, she will hail the Krasnikov.
Yep, and you get on screen the bridge of the USS Krasnikov and Captain Diamond.
Captain, my name is Captain Athan of the Iskandar. We're just passing by the system.
Oh, pleasure to talk to you. How can I help? Athan.
I was wondering if I could have a word with you in your ready room, Captain.
Of course. Give us a sec. Perrin, patch this through to my ready room, will you? And she'll go off screen for a moment. And then, fairly shortly afterwards, reappears in her ready room.
Captain, what I'm about to say is going to sound somewhat outlandish. I've just had two of my senior officers reporting that they... Are you conducting, this is rumor I've heard, that you're conducting some experimentation upon new propulsion systems in the region?
Yes. we are. Though that's not that widely known about, except amongst folks who've read my science officer's papers in detail, who probably suspect that that's something she's building, but...
Commander Aras?
Yes. I didn't take you for being that much of a scientist. My apologies.
No, it's quite all right. I'm not particularly in the field, but it would seem that my EXO and chief science officer are. I've had the two of them report today that they believe that there is going to be at approximately 13:30 hours a detonation of your ship based upon a buildup of pressure of your propulsion systems, which are beginning to cause subspace fissures, which are causing damage to space-time. They believe this and have given me an associate and accordant briefing because they believe that they have lived this day up until that point several times.
Right.
Obviously, this was not something which I immediately assumed was anything other than who knows. However, I had no idea that we were going to be encountering the Krasnikov in the system, and I had no idea before Commander Talandra and Lieutenant Casey mentioned it, that the Krasnikov was conducting experiments on a faster-than-light propulsion system, which rather than maintaining a warp field, would focus it to create a temporary singularity through which you could instantaneously travel.
Yeah, I've seen the abstract of one of Priyanka's papers then.
I haven't. I've only had whatever I was just briefed by Commander Talandra and Lieutenant Casey. They believe that if something is not done, then your ship is going to explode. It will take my ship out with it. And then this day for some people will be experienced over and over again.
Right. Sure you appreciate, well, I think I can see that you appreciate that this does seem a little
Unorthodox, yes.
far-fetched. Do you have anything to substantiate this, or any way of proving?
Well, first
you
I can
say?
send you the documentation I've been provided with, which may provide you with further insights onto your own matters. However, also a scan apparently for subspace fissures in coordinates, which I will send you, might provide some new insights. But if you'll please stand by for the document. It is apparently labeled for the attention of Commander Aras, and I was not aware that Commander Talandra has ever met Commander Aras before, but here we are.
But here we are. Well, send over your documents and I'll have Pri have a look at it.
Very good. I won't wish to presume that if we provided you with these findings, this is as much as my officers know. I don't know what further assistance we can be.
Okay. Well, as I say, fire it across, I guess. Erica can have a look at it. She does always appreciate when somebody's a fan of her work.
Oh, they're fans. I'll send it at once. Thank you for speaking to me, Captain.
Quite all right, son.
Very well. Good luck. Iskandar out.
And you, and
no, well, yeah.
Fine, don't send your file. And you on whatever your mission is in this sector.
Iskandar out. I hang up at that.
You don't want to hear it say that Starbase 228 is a lovely place again.
Yeah, just no. Send her the documents. What the fuck is going on? But like, yeah.
It's
like this isn't like Asan isn't now like fully and we'll leave it to them and never talk to them again, but also like she is of the opinion we've given the people who know what their thing is the things. Like let's tamp down on this protagonist syndrome that my characters have got. Starfleet's full of protagonists. Protagonist syndrome is what made Strange do this shit. It's a problem.
Cool. So, what's the Iskandar doing now whilst the Krasnikov read this thing?
We're carrying on. It's down to the Krasnikov. That's what Tharn's doing anyway.
Okie dokie.
And thinking hard about everything in life. As like, okay, well, this turned out to be real. Maybe.
Okie dokie. So some time passes. And I say that the point where you had the conversation with Captain Diamond was at about 4 hours before you'd expect the explosion.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give you times in. The time until explosion.
That makes sense, yeah.
Because then it's easy to deal with. About another hour and a half later.
Okay.
I'm going to assume that Athan's back on the bridge at this point.
Yeah.
Make sure that none of her other officers come up with any more wild theories today. And then Korsky pipes up. Captain, we're being held by the USS Krasnikov.
On screen.
On screen. There's Captain Diamond. Captain. Interesting little report that you sent over.
I hope it was at least fruitful.
Well, we've certainly some aspects of it seem to check out, which is interesting.
I've given you as much of an explanation as I have.
So we've done some of the scans for looking at subspace fissures and had a closer look at our engine data. And it, not exactly, but pretty closely aligns with what was in that report.
Then what's your next step, Captain? It's your engine.
Well, in the absence of any further insights, I guess, from yourselves, we're going to have a closer look at the drive, see if we can identify what's causing this creep in the systems, and see what we can do to alleviate the strain on it.
Very good. Inform me if Iskandar can be of any assistance.
Of course. Given that you've seen this before, if you come up with anything, then give us a shout.
I have no doubt that my officers will be happy to render direct assistance if they can be of use.
If it can be of use, I'll be happy to have their direct assistance. But, I think Lieutenant Zula and Commander Aras can be... Well, they'll be quite busy sorting out the problem.
Well, we don't want to get underfoot, so it's down to you, Captain Diamond, if you want us to make a detour.
If you feel that there's anything else you can add.
Very well. We'll be with you shortly, then. Krasnikov.
All right. See you in a bit, then.
Iskandar out. St. Cantos. Alter course to bring us to the Krasnikov.
Aye, Captain. Setting course for the Krasnikov.
Tharn to Talandra.
Landra here. Go ahead, Captain.
Spoken with Captain Diamond. We're on a heading for the Krasnikov.
Did Captain Diamond see our research, Captain?
Yes, that was the purpose of that document, Commander.
Excellent.
If you and Lieutenant Kantos, and if you wish to include Lieutenant Reyes, wish to proceed to the Krasnikov upon arrival and see if you can render any assistance.
Yes, Captain. I think that would be.
Sorry, Casey, did I say Kantos?
You said Kantos. I was about
I meant
to check.
Casey. No, I meant Casey.
Sure, you
No,
want
I meant Casey.
Kantos on this?
No, I meant Casey.
They flirt with the warp core.
It blows up. Great. Fuck.
Of course, Captain. Thank you, Captain.
Yeah. And Nathan leaves it at that.
Okay. We'll tootle on over to the Krasnikov.
Okay. I assume that like how long is the trip? How long is the trip between that call and time to set off for the Krasnikov?
As in between the call that you've just had with them. And time to set off as in from Isk to board?
Yeah, from after that, if you're saying jump to the Krasnikov, from Athan going, you've got your away team, and the away team arriving at the Krasnikov.
Right,
how
okay.
long is that journey?
How quickly do you want it to be? How urgently do you think this needs to happen?
Reasonably, like we're not we're not going at like fucking full, hell bent for leather.
Yeah.
We're gonna get over there at a reasonable pace. Really, the main question, the answer to that is, for me, to presume how much Reyes has been able to fucking absorb.
Gotcha. Right. Okay. So, I think last time the Isk came to a bit of a stop before going over to the Krasnikov because there was time spent scanning, which we've not done this time.
Nope.
So I'm going to say the Isk got a bit further away from the Krasnikov this time because you just kept going rather than going, oh, we think there's a problem. Let's scan. So I'm going to say that it's about half an hour rather than 20 minutes.
Okay. That's fine.
So yeah, Reyes has half an hour or so to absorb this.
Presumably Casey's
Actually, the initial briefing will be done by Talandra.
That's probably a good thing.
To avoid, because also partly because Casey is on solution, and partly because Reyes doesn't need to be Casey that right now.
No, nobody needs the boy to happen.
Okay.
He's very boy today.
Assuming there was a certain amount of right, all right, what the fuck? Okay. Huh. But what if
this?
Creating a direct singularity, then that could be. We've had indications, there have been various historic reports of accidental singularities which have caused practically time travel. I wonder if any of the recollections of people are being based to be whether or not there is any of our connections with subspace. Like, it's always difficult to understand biological relationships with subspace, but there have been incidents of ships and vessels being protected from changes in the timeline in cases of time travel.
It is certainly curious to me that in our previous iteration, I didn't engage with any members of the Krasnikov's crew that had similar recollections that I did.
Yeah, I can save any more of Reyes' random shit for once we're in a solution-y space.
Safety track bubble. That's fine.
Yes.
Once though, it seems like she has bypassed Talandra's ability to respond. She will be ushered into Talandra's quarters, where Lieutenant Casey is surrounded by red string and chalkboards.
All right. So, how do you vent something which has been causing knots in subspace?
I have no clear strategy on this.
Now, I'm wondering how much we need to look at any research that we have on Romulan propulsion systems. So those are powered by a quantum singularity, which is different, but also include vast emissions of tachyons. Just putting that out there as something for a point of comparison. And to be honest, I'd be really surprised if researchers into let's not create a warp field, but let's, create a temporary singularity weren't at least riffing off information from we have on Romulan technology.
Okay. So I suppose let's work from the ground up with the basis in Romulan technology and see if there's anything that we can immediately theorize would function by way of an energy deficit.
I mean, those are confined and forced quantum singularities. And that's more about creating the energy. But so for this, however, are they still trying to use a matter-antimatter reaction?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's matter-antimatter reaction to create the singularity. You know what? I'm going to need to see it.
And on that, we arrive at the Krasnikov. Ready to transport over. So who's going? We've got... Is it Team Science and Engineering?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Reyes, Casey, Talandra. Anybody else?
Nope.
Cool.
Nope. Sounds good. Observe from the ship.
Cool. So yeah,
This Assad is not in I need to convince them mode, so she's at the I have now delegated this situation mode.
cool. No goleming for you then.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so you will get onto the transporter pads and dematerialize from the Iskandar. Casey and Talandra, you two rematerialize first. Casey, this looks very familiar to you because there's that same third beam of light, the same screaming eyes from the transporter chief Merkez. As they frantically try to get everything sorted out.
This happened last time.
Last time? What do you mean last time?
Same effect that occurred to me, Lieutenant. Understood.
Oh, never mind. And then Reyes appears.
Like if Reyes died, and
That
was
would be
just
funny as
atomized, oh, I guess I guess it's a real Family Guy Death of Brian Griffin situation. She's here for 3 episodes and then we just go back to the status quo.
Only strangers allowed to be chief engineer. Anytime anybody else is chief engineer, they die. But then Reyes reappears. Reyes, as far as you're aware, transported as normal. Why is everyone staring at you?
Talandra's preparing to carry on because she knows she was fine.
I'm sheepishly getting out a tricorder. Apologies, Lieutenant. There was a delay in your transport buffering. I'm just going to give you a quick scan. Do a quick scan.
Oh, give us a roll, just in case you botch it and get something hilarious.
I don't think I botch it. I'm adding +1. Is it science?
Doesn't matter. Whatever you're adding something to it. So
yeah,
it was basically let's just see if you get like -4 or -5 on the dice, and if you do,
You're
we'll
dead!
give you something funny.
Get out of here, Krayley.
Zombie! No zombie Reyes, as far as you can tell. Yeah, fine. Unless
Oh,
Kath
good.
knows something about Reyes that would come up on a tricorder scan.
Oh well, thank you.
All right. Chief,
Yes.
what are your instruments saying on why there was a delay on my transport beam?
Not sure yet, Commander. Trying to establish exactly what's happened here. Sorry, Lieutenant, aren't you?
Yeah,
Not,
yes.
Commander. For a second, I thought I was thinking, Reyes is the same rank. No, she's not.
No. Well, if you find out, in fact, please find out and please notify us.
Oh, don't worry. I would like to find out because, yep. Until we've got this sorted out, I'm gonna suggest we don't use the transporters unless there's an emergency where we need the transporters.
Great.
Commander Aras, Lieutenant Sula.
Yes, they're on the bridge.
Where we're not allowed to go, who has come to meet us?
And in comes a security officer at that point to escort you up to the bridge.
We'll let the commander take. Yeah, we're going.
Yeah.
We're going straight there, straight to check in.
Yep, you get onto the bridge. The bridge is, again, quite busy. There's a lot of people looking at consoles going, something's up. And as you three come in, Captain Diamond stands up to go and greet you. Commander Talandra, I presume.
Yes, Captain.
Good to meet you.
This is Lieutenant Reyes, Lieutenant Casey.
Nice to meet you both. Yeah, very comprehensive report you sent over.
Thank you.
Interesting.
It was what I could remember this morning.
Right.
And she'll glance at Commander Reyes. No, Commander.
We just accidentally realised we've accidentally got very similar names going on. They look alike as well, actually.
And we'll glance at Commander Aras and we'll say, I understand there were certain areas that I just had to give up on writing down, but when I looked at your plans originally, they were obviously much more detailed and comprehensive. This was the best I could manage. I hoped you could fill in the gaps.
Yeah, you've got a surprising amount of information on the details of this drive of mine.
Yes, Commander, you gave me the information yesterday.
I assume by yesterday you mean...
Yes, the third rotation.
The third rotation, right, okay. So, how many do you think we're on?
This is our fourth.
Right, okay, fourth. rotation of this causality loop that you think we're in.
Indeed.
Well, the data that you put in the report certainly matches up with, and she'll show you the scans that she's made of the subspace fishes, which does indeed line up with what it was kind of early doors when you were doing the scans, but with that showing almost exactly the same kind of increase in the cracks.
Given the previous rotations, science, we have approximately X hours, Y minutes.
2.5.
Until detonation.
Detonation, bloody hell. Right.
The appendix at the end of the briefing I gave you contains all of the data that I committed to memory in the last 2 minutes of the previous rotation, where it was Lieutenant Sula and I on the bridge, in engineering.
Right. Okay, so do you have any further ideas on what may or may not be causing this, or what may or may not be a solution to this? We've been having a look, but obviously, you know, if this is a time loop, we don't remember it. So we're looking at this with totally fresh eyes, if you like. Well, not totally fresh, because it is our engine design, and I probably do still understand it better than you, but...
Almost certainly, and that remains interesting to know. We were commenting on how it is interesting that only Lieutenant Casey and I have retained the memory, though many members of the Iskandar have experienced an uncanny sense of deja vu. If you have access to a briefing room, I believe Lieutenant Casey and Lieutenant Reyes have been discussing potential solutions, but obviously we will need your expertise.
Right. No, go on.
I was going to say I think might be better off actually being down seeing it, because
that's what I was thinking. Having something to actually point at rather than looking at a diagram. I kind of get on with just looking at a diagram. It's much better having the physical thing there in front of you.
Yeah, and also I can bounce around all sorts of things which might be a thing and might not be a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we get in, like, if you just need to sort of wink and shake your head, then that's fine. But obviously, if we're dealing with, you know, creating a singularity, this makes me obviously think of the force quantum singularities within Romulan drives. Is there anything in that line I need to think about or know about?
No, we're not as crude as the force in a singularity that you get in Romulan drives. It's a lot more sophisticated than that.
All right, good.
But no, it's simply using the warp field as focusing it, almost kind of like how when phasers focus electromagnetic energy into creating a beam. It's a lot like that. So no, we're not doing anything fancy with force singularities like a Romulan ship would, and we're not doing any dicking about with mycelial networks like the fucking Discovery did.
So it sounds like it's similar, but probably not exactly the same.
We don't know that.
That one's probably come out by
probably hypothetical or nothing else.
No, we don't know that.
All right, she doesn't say that then.
I was going to move into even more. I suppose there's anything like similar to, but probably not the same as like transwarp. If the idea is you're trying to create, of course, transwarp is trying to gain access to subspace corridors and conduits, but utilizing a warp field to bust open a conduit, whereas in this time
it is kind of more similar to something transwarp. That is probably the closest to this kind of technology.
All right.
But
okay.
Yeah, no.
Take a look.
You don't have to worry about any Romulan type stuff on this ship. It's all straightforward, proper Starfleet tech.
Really, I was worried about whether or not anyone had been doing anything naughty and stealing technology where we had to sort of pretend that we didn't know that someone had stolen technology, or, you know.
If they haven't been doing it on my ship.
Good. go, knowing that we're not accidentally like, yes, this is our spy tech, which we stole
Yeah,
from the Romulans.
this is our stolen technology. I'm
Yeah.
secretly a Romulan.
That's like, I don't care if you are. I just need to know if I'm going to get locked up after this.
Yeah, as soon as we solve this problem, we're going to have to shoot you all. Sorry.
I want to thank Commander Aras for not going, oh, yeah, we're not stealing technology. Your Vulcan knows a lot about our ship. Like, that's not stealing, that's time loop.
If it turns out you're a Romulan, then I'll just chuck you out the nearest
I
airlock.
sure hope that's admissible in by Jack. Time loop.
Prove it. No, cool. Yeah, you go down to engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Same description as before. It's very similar to the Iskandars, but the warp core is different.
Mm-hmm.
It has some elements of it have that kind of clunky prototype. Something is being tested here, look, and some elements look a bit sleeker and are differently shaped. And there's the additional components for forcing that singularity to occur.
Are you making any use of like the navigational deflectors or the deflector dish itself to be able to produce the singularity beam?
Those are used not so much for producing the singularity, but for directing it. For trying to, when you're trying to pick your point in space that you're going to, obviously you don't want to be creating a singularity to just anywhere. You want to have it quite focused to where you're traveling to. So no, we do use the navigational dishes for providing firstly the input and to get somewhere to direct the singularity to, and then for maintaining that focus of the singularity on the point that we're traveling to.
Are you producing it before you even generate any kind of a warp field? Does it create it from impulse, create the singularity, punch straight through? Or is it, do you need to create the warp field and generate any kind of a subspace field in the first place in order to then focus that subspace field?
The latter. You need, so firstly you need obviously a direction for where you are heading off to, which is where the navigational data comes in, and then using that and generating a warp field low in intensity first and then ramping it up. That's what you use to then focus it, and then you have somewhere to actually go to and a means of getting there.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Casey, you said that there was this pressure build problem.
Yes.
Show me.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
Mm-hmm.
There is the data, exactly as you expected it to be.
So this needs to... God, I need better words than cool down and pressure. I've only absorbed the metaphors, not the actual technical fucking bits on this particular problem.
I've only written down the metaphors, not the actual technical bits. So use what you like.
All right. So if this is emitting any kind of a tachyon burst in a high energy band, then that is presumably then going to need to dissipate afterwards. And also the generation of the tachyon burst is going to need to dissipate from our end. Yes. This does not appear to be fully dissipating, or at least the rate at which it is dissipating and degrading on this end is not enough each time. Is becoming slower and slower. And we think that this is probably what's leaving what for the moment I'm going to call a tachyon residue. I'm using tachyons. It's the best fucking thing for subspace doobies.
Tachyons came up in the first version of the explanation when it was the matter explosion laced with additional tachyon radiation. So no, tachyons is fine.
So if there's not enough of a tachyon dissipation, then that is leaving a residue, which is starting to cause these subspace rifts. Okay. But means of trying to better dissipate tachyons, or from this, but also this has already happened enough, so there's already been a cascade on this. Oh, is the ship continuing its emissions? Or is this... Yeah, let's find
I'll
that
do a
out
quick
first.
scan on that one.
Yeah, give us an ops check. When you say emissions, what are you looking for?
If there's a bleed, basically, is this a bleed from the damage to the area is continuing to resonate, or is the engine itself still slowly emitting tachyons?
Right, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 1.
You got a 1. Oh, that's not brilliant.
Fucking, you're the greatest mind of your generation, you punk ass
Greatest
bitch.
mind of a generation. I'm gonna spend a pay point, boost it to 3.
Cool. Yeah, now you can get some proper info.
Yeah.
Because you're a smart boy.
I'm one of the smartest.
You are the smartest boy. The boyest smart. And because you're the boyest smart, you can have this info. So, you're looking at, is the engine effectively still acting as if it's running rather than just simply cooling it down?
Yeah, if it's yes, it's if there's any kind of continued build-up of anything, is this from the engine still bleeding, or is this again from the extant influence and impact upon subspace?
Yeah. So yeah, you can see that from you have a look through having heard the conversation that Commander Aras and Lieutenant Reyes were having, including the bit about the navigational data. So now you have a bit more of an insight into what the setup is for doing a hop. You can see that there is still a bit of a bleed of energy, and a kind of a tachyon link coming from the engine.
All right. Is there any way that we can stop it from doing that, just for starters?
Give us a check. Gotta say engineering, because it's an engine.
That was only a 4.
Uh,
Well, I'm gonna fuck it. I'm gonna stick with hard work, not miracle work, and I'm gonna re-roll because that was a pretty dog shit roll.
yeah, that's going to be a -1, isn't it?
Yes, it was. There we go. That's the puppy. That's an 8.
Nice. So the engine isn't actually switched on, and yet it's still emitting this. So it's trying to stop it emitting something, even though it's off. Not sure how that's gonna work. Really. It's not really a way that you can immediately see to stop it emitting this energy.
Yep. Nope.
But given that you got an 8, you can have a look at what the boyest smart got from his ops check, and have a look at the navigational data, and have a look at the other end of this tachyon beam. And it's coming from the point where the Krasnikov last jumped. So there's this kind of beam of energy between the 2 points, where you are now and where it was at whatever point yesterday they did the hop on the other side of the system.
Did the singularity close properly?
No.
Let's look at Casey.
Fascinating.
Have they actually just gone and fucking created a hole?
Oh. So how would they repair this? Jump back?
No, because that would be creating another one. The thing is, these things naturally eventually collapse, but the problem is that, we got to survive that process.
How long ago was the previous jump?
what, like yesterday?
Yeah, like yesterday afternoon. So probably about what, 20 hours ago, a bit less.
So do we need to... If it was before us right now, if movement through space wasn't an issue and we had it ahead of us, what would we do to close it?
Well, it is ahead of us because it's at both ends. It's the thing. So, if we can create an access and punch it through the warp field, then we're gonna need ships at both ends. We're gonna need a ship at both ends if we can come up with a means of doing it to close both ruptures at either end, off the top of my head. So, if either ship can produce the means of creating the hole in subspace via the focused warp field, but then creating it is more effort than shutting it. If you can create a warp bubble or a stable warp bubble around it, and then maybe collapse a warp bubble around it. In fact, there are a few ideas. Like, I'd have to probably start running some simulations at this point. Maybe, for instance, directly on top of it, being able to create a standard warp bubble and then attempting to then collapse said warp bubble might also close it with it. Cutting down tachyon emissions are usually just a thing which you guys just got to fucking deal with and move away from, not get rid of or dissipate. Like, I mean, in fact, then, can we take a look at the scans that we've got here now for any of the previous jumps and the readings from the end of the conclusions of those prior jumps? So they did the jumps, it would have closed behind them. They'll have done a jump, it would have closed behind them. Let's take a look at the records we've got of the scans, if they'll give it to us, for all of those jumps. And then we can compare and see what was happening each time, and also that can familiarize us with the process. How long do we have before apparently we're all going to fucking die?
You've probably got about an hour and a half, 2 hours at this point.
2 hours.
Great. We are not going to be able to get... If, like, I've got half a theory right now. If I'm right, what I'm thinking is going to take some modifications to, like, the deflector array, the deflector dish of the Iskandar. We're not going to be able to do this in 2 hours.
Then we need to make sure that absolutely everyone possible is briefed on this, so that whoever retains information from this loop can action it.
What?
Lieutenant, my plan from the previous revolutions was to commit as much of this information to memory, so that this time around I would be able to instruct whoever needed it. It seems that we will have to do the same again.
Okay. Let's take a look at their records then. This is still only the start of the theory.
Yeah, you can go and talk to... Do you want to talk... You got both Commander Aras and Lieutenant Sular here.
Aras, I'm good with Aras. In fact,
Yeah.
so yeah, it will be like, right, so we think that your holes aren't closing properly.
That's what she said.
Lieutenant Commander, could you do something about your boy here?
Lieutenant KC, you're fired.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Right, off my ship now. Right. You think the singularity's still open?
I think that there is at least a small. I mean, it doesn't have to be big, freaking singularity, but yeah, I think there's
Yeah,
an
of
indication
course.
that the continuing bleed attack on is what's causing the subspace fissures.
Right. Show me.
Boop, 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 boop. And I need to run see some more scans, but that's what my premise is, that they're not, that Lieutenant Casey detected that we are still having some emissions at the end point of your last jump and here.
Right. There's still a link between us being here and us where we were.
That's what I am presuming, is that there is not, that it did not finish closing behind you.
Interesting.
And then that is continuing to cause damage to subspace.
Of course, yeah. Well, this is what it looked like last time, and she'll bring up. Here's the chart of the cooldown of the engine post jump.
Okay. It is a slower cooldown than the previous ones, according to some of this data I've had.
Yeah, it says, I mean, it all looked like it was within margins, but when you string it all together, including the way the current one's going, you do get that trend of the cooldown time creeping up and up.
Do we have data of the entry exit points of the previous jumps and any indication about the status of those fissures?
Yeah, of course. We've mostly just been jumping back and forth between these two stars, not from the exact same spot every time, but just using kind of the two stars as, a focal point.
Yeah.
For something to jump, into the orbit around 31 Cygni A to 31 Cygni B, and back again. But never to the exact same point, because we have moved through space, and so the stars.
Yeah. Pretty difficult, if not impossible. Okay. If this is the only, my concern is if there are several rifts, but we're.
No, we did have a bit of a look after you lot mentioned that there were subspace fissures. It did raise a bit of a concern that, exactly as you say, there might have been problems elsewhere, but as far as we can tell, this is the only spot in space that's got these subspace fissures.
Okay. Then how would we close it? Lieutenant and I were thinking it might take two ships simultaneously closing something.
Right, okay. So you're thinking what? Us at this end and yourselves at the other?
Probably.
I mean, those are the two ships in the area, unless you know of any others that are hanging about or likely to pass through in the next couple of hours.
No, I just think that's probably going to be the least destabilizing matter to subspace, rather than accidentally just causing a bit more of a rift.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I think then if we can study the creation and the access and egress process as much as we can now, then we might be able to figure out a way to replicate just the closing process.
Yeah, of course. Although you said as well, and she'll look to Landra and Casey as the ones who appear to know the things about what's happened before. Although, how long did you say it is until you reckon that this blows?
An hour and a half to 2 hours.
Right. That's not a huge amount of time for you to put this solution into place. Would it not be better to just get the Iskandar over to the other end and have at it?
If Reyes believes that it is not possible to achieve within that 2-hour window, then the closest thing we have to a plan is for Reyes to design the alterations that need to be made to the Iskandar's deflector array. We, 3 of us, commit them to memory, and during the next revolution, begin work on those modifications immediately.
Right.
Was the data I sent with my captain to your captain and yourself sufficient to persuade you, or could there have been more that I said?
No, there was certainly sufficient there to convince me that you do actually, you know, you're not talking total rubbish and that there is something to this. What I'm more concerned about is that it seems to me more of a waste of a couple of hours to not at least try something rather than going for, you know, I appreciate that as far as you're concerned, it is, you know, these are events that are repeating, but having not had the experience myself, I'm not overly keen on the idea of just letting my ship blow up.
I mean, I've not personally had it other than waking up with a weird headache and a really vivid image of yelling at Ensign Strange, but that could just be I'm not
We've all got that ensign.
I've not relived it, but I sort of agree with Commander Araz, but I also have some serious concerns about trying to do a rush job on something like this when we would be trying to tamper with a subspace fissure.
I currently believe the best thing available to us is for Lieutenant Reyes to remain aboard this vessel and begin work on her plans. Enough that we have something to set in motion for the next time, and Lieutenant Casey works with Commander Aras to understand as much as he can about the system.
Or maybe I do go back to the Iskandar and try to start getting this done. Because the idea of, sorry, Commander, but the idea of sitting here and sort of passively accepting that I should memorize things ahead of my imminent death and then try again later is not my favoritist one.
I understand that, Lieutenant. However, given there are currently concerns with the nature of the transporters between the two ships, I am not comfortable letting you transport back to the Iskandar. And given that time is of the essence, I'd rather you spend as much of your time planning as possible.
I can try to get a shuttle back.
I understand that. I also understand that currently you are facing an existential crisis. I assure you,
Cool.
I am not immune to a fear of death or dying, but given the evidence we have so far, unless you have reason to believe that these fissures will get worse to the extent that there will not be a repetition, we must act as if we will continue.
All right, Commander? Couple of hours trying to get back by a shuttle, trying to get to the other endpoint. Modifications to the deflector array, and I'm actually still not sure on what those modifications would be right now.
I am aware that you are a Starfleet engineer, Lieutenant Reyes, but I know that you cannot work miracles all the time.
I try to not work miracles as a matter of course.
It's true. But given the circumstances, there is only so much time.
Let's start with a look at the access and egress data, because one way or another I'm going to need to take a look at that even before I would even rush off back to Iskandar.
If it'd be your first step anyway, then let's go have a look. I'll talk you through the process.
All right. Very unhappy Reyes is like, right, okay. I guess
You've not got a very happy Aras either.
In practice, this is how this is going to be, huh? Just accept my pending mortality.
Hey, I'm just
Talandra
as keen as
continues
you
her-
are.
Talandra continues her ongoing friendship with Lieutenant Sula.
Yeah, the Lieutenant Zilla has no such concerns like Commander Aras has. He's logicking about this and is going, yes, that all seems perfectly reasonable. We have no reason to assume, should this be a temporal loop, that there is any reason for this not to continue. Assuming there's no difference that you've observed in the data.
And none
Looks at the
that
two people who seem to know things again.
none that I have observed, of course.
Very well.
Lieutenant Casey's concerns are correct. We should not rely on this being a thing that will continue forever.
No,
However,
of course. However, in the absence of any difference in the results, it would be rather strange to assume that there would be a different result.
correct. And as Lieutenant Reyes says, we do not wish to hasten something when working with such delicate technology.
No, quite. This is something that will require care if this is to be done correctly and not cause further problems. Where's the boy going? We've got Team Vulcan and we've got Team fuck this nonsense.
I don't know. Wherever I'm told.
Come with team fuck this nonsense. We're the like
Yeah.
this is the let's okay. Yeah, in fact, you know what? Reyes will be like, right.
The other way of
this
looking at it is Team Human, who have
Yeah.
the emotions about this, and Team Logic, who are going, we're just going to accept our deaths
all right,
this time. Try again.
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant.
So, miracle work is bullshit. Okay.
Yes.
Any small moment which feels like brilliance, like, you know, a flash of magical inspiration, is not that at all. It is actually the end result of hundreds of hours that have been sunk into contemplating this issue. However, we are about to have to rely on a certain amount of brilliance because you've remembered this, and Commander Talandra's remembered this. I've not remembered this. So you really need to study this. Because then you might have to tell me.
Yes. However, I do hate to be the bearer of bad news. Lieutenant Commander Talandra remembers 4 loops. I remember 3.
So in fact, we might not actually remember this.
Hence my statement that we should make this as available as possible to every single member of the Iskandar. There is a chance that next time I will not know this is a loop.
Okay. Okay. This feels like it's something which we can absolutely exploit far, far more. But right now, I can't think of anything that I want to do.
I can only promise you that I don't know. I have...
Oh, come on, Lieutenant. You practically drip with regret every single bloody time I look at you. So, you know, fucking live a little.
I'm not sure I know how.
Well, this is absolutely not the time for that conversation.
No.
All right, let's figure out how let's study all this so we can figure out how one of the two of us can please desperately remember, or Commander Thandra will remember the concept of figure out how to close it, study the access and egress, and then figure out how we can replicate the egress process independently using Iskandar's warp field generation and deflector dish.
Okay.
And if I wake up tomorrow and it's the same day, I am... That's so depressing. All I can think of is how I'm going to pick on Strange. But I'd do that even if the day wasn't going to reset.
I don't look her dead in the eyes and say, I've got 12 years to live, and it might have already come to a close at this moment. The last thing I need right now is to be told how you want to punch the person I'm in love with.
I didn't say that.
No, no. To be
Come on.
fair, but none of this is said. He
Oh.
just nods,
Yeah.
like inputting things into a pad.
Yep.
Yep.
We commit to we have half a plan. Let's try to study the half a plan and pray that someone wakes up the next time with the slightest idea.
Yep.
I can't wait for next loop. Athan is the only one that remembers.
Well, we'll find out next time who remembers the next loop, because we will close this episode with everybody's gone off to their separate study corners. Team Vulcan beavering away. Team Human also beavering away on their notes. The high-pitched whine starts from the engine, gets louder.
Talandra is sat in engineering with Sular, and she's looking at the numbers, and she's so done with the noise that she just leans over and just closes the door.
Jesus Christ!
When you say the noise, do you mean the humans talking, right?
No, the whine of the end.
I know, right? We have the high-pitched noise, the whine growing in intensity, and just after Talandra goes and shuts the door, just as Talandra goes back to the pad to resume her reading, we get the flash of light as the Krasnikov once more explodes.
Superb.
It's
Awful.
looking at that door shutting like, what the fuck?
In fact, no, we get a cut-off curse on that one.
Well, this is awful.
I hate this.
So yes, that's been session 2 of Hysteresis.
Jeez, like we're getting there. It's
You're doing
we-
fucking well.
MVP goes to Athan comforts Casey in the face of death, and then Athan has no
and then immediately
time.
drags him next loop as well.
Like,
Fuck me. That's such a I hadn't thought about that. That's such a
Yeah.
harsh turnaround
it's
in emotions for Casey
like
to
a
have.
matter
as well.
of minutes. Like
As far
we're
as he's
talking like
concerned.
half an hour.
Yeah, that Casey had less than an hour between next time, Lieutenant, and fuck you, Lieutenant. This is bullshit.
Just shut up.
Shut the fuck up. So yeah, I'm glad you hate it. You're welcome. This is why you don't let me run shit.
It's delicious. Thank you.
Oh, you're glad you're enjoying it. But yes, we'll be back next week. Yes, we'll be back next week for the next part of this episode, which may or may not be the last one. We'll see how we go. Probably won't be. I reckon we've got another 2 of this. So until next time, or last time, or whatever. We don't know how time works. Bye!